Hello, people. Hey, everyone. It's Makeda Valletta. Right now, I'm doing this video live on YouTube, on my YouTube page, The Body Scientist 81, and on my Instagram page, the_body_scientist. So make sure you follow me in both places. Hope you all are doing well today. I am reporting live from Chicago, where it is 5 degrees today. And so today I want to do a conversation about wintertime workouts, okay? Like just tips for staying fit in the winter and things that you should know and benefits. And so I grew up in New York City. So, of course, I went through the seasons, had a winter. I used to hate the winter. But since moving to Chicago, actually, the unthinkable happened. And I actually have started to make peace with the winter for a few reasons. You know, it's a good time to go within and to eat good food, because in the summertime, a lot of times I'm way too hot. Like I love New Orleans, for example, but New Orleans is death hot in the summer. And it's like I could be hungry and I go outside and it just takes my appetite away because it's so goddamn hot. And I love the heat and I love the sun. But embracing the seasons aren't bad when you dress for the seasons and you keep it moving. So I remember when I was a kid, I played basketball. What's up? When I was a kid, I played basketball, and I remember cold, because the winter was a lot colder when I was a kid than it is now. And I remember just being hot as hell after playing a basketball game. You're so hot, you just wanted to go outside in the cold with no clothes on. But of course, your parents told you to put your clothes on, you put all your clothes back on, you go outside, you stay warm because you built up that heat, right? So for me, in the wintertime, I used to not want to go outside. I didn't want to do anything. But I moved to Chicago 2 years ago, and I'm really into dance. So when I'm in New York, I do a lot of Afro-Haitian, Afro-Brazilian, Afro-Cuban, Congolese dance. But that's not really in Chicago. And so since I didn't have those things, I got really focused on my workouts. And in Chicago, it was easier for me to actually get to the gym. Chicago has very good public transportation like New York. There's a lot of gyms here. And so it was easy for me to get to the gym. And so I would just work out. When I moved here, I was right across the street from the train. The train was 3 stops to the gym. So even when it was cold outside and I didn't feel like going, I would just run across the street, get on the train, go to the gym, work out. Then once I got in the gym and I worked out, and I got your burn up in the gym, I throw my clothes back on, I go outside, I'm feeling hyped up, and you're warm. You know, you just keep it moving, you know. For the people that have a car, I don't have a car. I don't want to have a car. Another reason why I chose Chicago. But most of my friends in Chicago do have a car. A lot of people who live close places have a car. So if you just jump in your car and turn the heat on, you don't really feel the elements. But for me, as a person who's moving around, you put on your layers. Shea butter is critical, okay? Shea butter is an insulator. I'm not sure how shea butter is on light skin because I'm not sure how much it might mesh with your skin. Just not sure. If it does, great. But I know for me and for people of color, like shea butter definitely is really good because it helps to insulate. It's an insulator. Unlike coconut oil, unlike cocoa butter, shea butter insulates. So I do not use shea butter in the summer. I would never put that shit on in Florida in the summertime, or New York or New Orleans or any place hot and humid. I wouldn't do it. But I just lather myself with shea butter from head to toe, right? And you put on, you know, my fleece, like under here, under these spandex. I got some fleece spandex. And I threw on a pair of sweatpants on top of that, put on my boots, put a hoodie on, put my jacket, put my hat, and just kept moving. And it's 5 degrees and I'm not cold at all. Now, the other thing, I love to ice skate, and I love outdoor ice skating. And I did a video on why ice skating is such a good workout. But I'm always looking for the most efficient workouts, like exercises. As a strength and conditioning coach, I don't just do random exercises to do them. And I don't just do exercises for a look. I do exercises that are going to help me be more fit, help me better with my balance, help me better with my muscular endurance, help me with my muscular strength. So even like with pole dancing is cute and it's fun, but now I can pull myself up. So if I'm ever hanging and I need to like save my life, you never know when you might need to pull yourself up just to save your life. Now I can do that because of pole dance. You know, ice skating works all the muscles in your legs. Okay, all of them. The small muscles in the bottom of your feet, the muscles in your shins. It works the gluteus medius, which is people rarely work. So, you know, you have your gluteus maximus. The gluteus maximus is the main large glute muscle right here. The gluteus medius is here on the sides, right? And you activate the gluteus medius when you're like balancing on one leg or doing this or abducting the leg, all of that. And so ice skating, you're working your inner thighs, you're working your outer thighs, your gluteus medius, your maximus, your hamstrings, your quads. And you can ice skate like a hockey player. You can, yes, that's the other thing I wanted to say, Kawana. Yes, thank you for reminding me about that. My friend Kawana just talked about walking around in the snow. And I wanted to say that too. Walking in the snow is a workout, just like walking in the sand. You know what I'm saying? If somebody could go on the beach and go walk on the sand and you're treading it, it's a workout. Same thing with the snow. And when I do an intense leg workout, you know, and then even like jumping over piles of snow, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna jump over this pile, I'm gonna climb over this pile, I'm gonna jump over this little puddle. But it was snowing in Chicago for like 4 days. It's like mad snow. They shovel more snow. And the snow in Chicago is actually really beautiful. You know, Chicago made me fall in love with the snow. And as a kid, you know, kids love snow. So the people who grew up in hot places who didn't have snow, sorry for you, because kids love snow. And I remember being a kid in New York and having, I remember being in elementary school. One day it was snowing and half of my class like ran to the window and they were stuck to the window. And I was so confused, like why they acted like that. And my teacher had to tell me because I was in dual language. So half of my class was Puerto Ricans and Dominicans who were learning how to speak English. And the other half was like Americans who learned how to speak Spanish. So we were mixed with people who only spoke Spanish. Anyhow, I had a lot of Puerto Rican and Dominican students in my class, and they had never seen snow. And I was like, wow, kids are fascinated and love snow. Then as an adult, I was like, oh, I hate this shit. And really, I think that probably came when I was in college, and I had to I lived in Delaware, and I had to dig my car out and stuff like that. I didn't like that. But living in New York City, living in Chicago, cities that handle this shit, like the city doesn't shut down. New York and Chicago don't shut down because it snows. It's not like Atlanta where they get an inch of snow, people have to leave their cars on the highway, and kids get stuck at school and shit. You just keep it moving, right? But the snow, like I did a intense leg workout the other day, and I'm walking in the snow, and I walk fast anyway because I be trying to get places. You know what I'm saying? It's the New Yorker in me. I be trying to get places, going to the train, and the snow's slowing me down. Then I'm traveling. I got my suitcase, carrying my suitcase in the snow. It's a workout, okay? And you start getting hot. You start getting hot. You just put clothes on. Like people who are from like Florida or places where they don't, or the Caribbean, or places where they don't have a winter, they're so dramatic about the winter. They're like, oh my God, I can never deal with that. How do you deal with that? Blah, blah, blah. But the thing is that number one, they don't have the clothes for it. People who come from hot places, who live in hot places, and they come up north during the winter, they be having like a jeans jacket and a hoodie on when it's like 35 degrees. So they don't know how to dress for it. You have to know how to dress for it. I didn't even have on a thick coat just now. I had on a thin little, like something I wear when it's 45 degrees. I had on it's 5 degrees and I still wasn't cold, right? So a lot of you don't know how to dress for it. Then you don't get acclimated. We have seasons for a reason. As the temperature slowly drops, you know, we put on more clothes, we get used to it. The same way, like as much as I love the heat, when I was in Cartagena last year, Cartagena was one of the hottest fucking places I've ever been, okay? New Orleans is one of the hottest places I've ever been. And like Florida gets hot and the sun in Florida is hot, but New Orleans is like will kill you type fucking heat, okay? And Cartagena was worse than that. And in Cartagena, and same thing with Santiago de Cuba. Cuba, period, of course, the Caribbean, but Santiago de Cuba is like burning up fucking hot. It's way hotter than Miami. When I was in Santiago de Cuba, when I was in Cartagena, Colombia, I was burning up, like as naked as possible, first of all, trying to get the sun on my skin so I could cook, but I can't take a lot of clothes when it's hot. People had on, like 90% of the people, the women had on tight-ass jeans, they had on long-sleeve shirts. You know, one of my good friends who's from Miami wears long sleeves all summer in Miami, and I have no idea how they could do that. None. Because I swear to you, I would have a heat stroke if somebody made me wear some tight-ass pants. I don't even think about pants in the summertime when it's hot like that. That shit is not even on my mind. And so when I went to Cartagena and I see these girls, I mean, not like loose fitting, you know, pants that could breathe. They had on like skin tight jeans. And in Cuba too, they had like they were on motorcycles and it's hot as fuck. And they got on like a little leather jacket. I'm like, how are you not hot? So you know what that says? They are more acclimated for that heat than me, because it was hot as fuck. And to me, I didn't understand how people walk. I've even heard in Africa, people be walking around with hoodies and Timbs, trying to dress like Wu-Tang, and it's hot as fuck, and they're in Africa, right? That means their body is more acclimated to that heat, okay? So it may be hot to them, but it's not as hot to them as it is to you. So they're walking around with long sleeve stuff and jackets and hoodies, and it's burning up. And I'm over here with like naked and I'm dying. But the flip is true. The opposite is true too with people who experience cooler weather. Because I know in Chicago, a lot of all my Black friends in Chicago, I remember before I moved to Chicago, people would say to me, like, I had come to the city many times before I ever moved here, and I loved it. But I was afraid to come in the winter because everybody always told me they had never been so cold in their life as when they went to Chicago. Everybody said that. People I knew from Chicago seemed to have PTSD about the winter. And so I was terrified of being here in the wintertime. Then people would tell me, oh, when New Yorkers move to Chicago, they have to get a real winter coat. And I was like, that shit was scary because I'm like, I thought New Yorkers had a real winter coat. Like, what are you talking about? So now, and I live here, what I've noticed is that my Black friends in Chicago a lot of times do not wear big ass coats. Like they be having on little jackets, hoodies and stuff. And granted, yes, they may be driving. So a lot of them are driving. But even in New York, if people are driving, they still having a big coat. You know, they still having a coat for her. Like nobody's walking around with little hoodies on, you know. But a lot of people that I see, the Black people I know in Chicago don't dress. They don't bundle up as much as I would think for the temperature. But it's also probably because to them, the way the cold is probably feeling different to them because they're used to even colder temperatures. Chicago traditionally gets a lot colder than New York traditionally. Like New York never went into the negatives, you know, in my life. But Chicago will go into the negatives every winter. So traditionally it got colder. So people's perception of the temperature a lot of times has to do with acclimation. And this is something that's known in sports science. That's why if you have athletes, let's say if you have athletes from Toronto who are going to go play a championship game in Houston, and it's like in the 50s up in Toronto, and it's like 85 and humid as fuck in Houston. Ideally, what somebody who has a good strength and conditioning coach, which is what I am, they will plan for them to get there a few days sooner, so they can start acclimating themselves to that heat. Because what happens is those players in Houston are used to that heat. So when those players come from Toronto who are not used to that heat, it affects their performance. It beats them down more than the people who are used to it. You know what I'm saying? So there's acclimation. And that's the whole thing with seasons. When we go through seasons, it slowly acclimates you to the next temperature. That's why I don't like California weather. California people love to act like they have the best weather in the country, and I beg to differ. I think that the best weather in the country definitely is on the East Coast. But if I had to say like one place, I would say maybe Miami. But Miami can be too hot in the summer. See, the thing is, not everybody wants to be that damn hot. Like the kind of heat that you experience in the South and the kind of heat you experience in New Orleans and Miami. Like I love the heat, but there's definitely times that I've been in New Orleans and I'm like, you know what? I don't need to be this damn hot. It's fucking exhausting. Takes away my appetite. I can't eat. And it just is like miserable sometimes. And some people don't want to be that hot. You know, my dad's family is from Florida. And my dad told me, I don't care if it ever gets hot again. Like him and his sister is like, that shit is too hot. Not everybody wants to be that hot. And all the people I know who live in, like I was just in Miami a couple of weeks ago and it wasn't hot like that. It was pretty chilly. And everybody had the air conditioning blasting. It's like 65 degrees. To me, at 65 degrees, we need to turn the heat on. And I'm like, all these people who you keep saying you can never live up north, you can never deal with the winter, but you stay in this cold ass air conditioning all the time. And when it's warm, I want to feel warmness on my skin. I don't want to feel freezing cold fucking artificial air blowing on my skin when it's 85 degrees outside. You know what I'm saying? I don't. I have to be miserably hot to turn the air conditioning on. And I acclimate myself to that heat. When I went to Cartagena, when I'm in New Orleans, when New York is hot and humid as hell in the summertime, I deal with it. Instead of going to the gym and sitting on a sauna, an artificial environment. I just wait till when it's hot, I deal with the heat. I'll go to a Haitian dance class in New York that's 90 minutes in a studio that really is barely air conditioned. There's sweat dripping off the wall, and we're doing intense movements and sweating like crazy. That's my sauna. In order to get through that, I have to hydrate myself. I have to really make sure I hydrate myself, and it's not water. I have a video about hydration science. You know, it's not water that you drink when you want to hydrate. When you're sweating like crazy and it's hot and humid, you need something with electrolytes, potassium. So I'll be sipping on coconut water, watermelon juice, stuff like that. I keep sipping on it, not water, and that's what gets me through those really hot, intense workouts. But when you're in Cali, you know, I'm sorry. When you're in Cali, well, at least let's say LA and like that whole desert, it'll be 90 degrees in the daytime and burning up. And then you go inside and you eat, and then you come outside and it's like 55 degrees and you're freezing. That shit I can't stand. I remember I went to my really good friend's wedding in Coachella last year, 2 years ago. And it was so hot, and I had some other East Coast friends that came. So we felt heat before, right? But it was just so hot because the desert, you have no shade. You just have the sun for as far as you can see. I hate the desert. And it's like this hot, intense, dry ass heat. You're burning up, and then all of a sudden you're freezing. You're freaking freezing. That's how you get sick. Your body's not supposed to go from August to November in the same day. That's actually not good. I actually prefer seasons. I prefer, let's get to November gradually. Now we're in November. Now my mind is on November, and I'm good with that. I don't want every day to have to bring 2 outfits outside. And that's what you got to do in LA. I don't like that weather. To me, that's not ideal weather. On the East Coast, no matter where you are on the East Coast, if it's 85 degrees in the daytime, it's not going to be 55 degrees or 65 degrees. And it's not going to drop down that cold at night. But the desert is like that. And so you have to, it's important to think about maintaining body temperature. That's the important thing, whether it's hot or cold, you have to maintain body temperature. When it's cold outside too, you also need to stay hydrated. But again, it's not water that you're drinking. You want to drink things with electrolytes and potassium, stay hydrated. And utilize the elements, because like I said, I love ice skating. I rollerblade too, but ice skating to me is way more fun than rollerblading. I love ice skating over rollerblading. I don't care if I never rollerbladed again. And roller skating, whatever, ice skating is where it's at, okay? And outdoor ice skating to me feels better than indoor ice skating. And you're not even cold when you're ice skating. No matter how cold it might feel outside, you start ice skating. It's just like people who jog, you know? I'm addicted to ice skating. So even though it's 5 degrees outside right now, if the rink was open, they closed the rink today, but if it was open, I would be there skating. And you see people skating with tank tops on, you get hot. I'll be sweating, out of breath, and a lot of times I'll go work my legs because there's a gym, there's the LA Fitness, right across the street from the skating rink. So I'll do an intense leg workout, and then I'll go to the rink, and then I'll skate a few miles. And uphill, downhill, because I don't use cardio machines. I do real work. When I go to New York, I'm going to be in my dance classes. When I'm in Chicago, I'm going to ice skate, because I don't ice skate in New York anymore because it costs too much money. And Chicago has a bunch of free ice skating rinks that are super dope. Another thing about Chicago that I just learned from a New Yorker who lives here, right? Because when I moved here, and I'm talking about New York and Chicago a lot. Chicago is a dope city. It's an underrated city. And even though the New Yorker in me is a critic, I'm just a critic even about my own city. And so some people think I don't like Chicago, but I do. If I didn't, I wouldn't live here. And I've been here for 2 years. And one of the reasons why I moved to the city is because it's so active. People don't realize that. Side note, Chicago has the largest beach volleyball league in the country. You would think it would be LA, but it's actually Chicago, right? But the other thing is, when I first moved here, I didn't see people on the basketball courts. Because in New York, especially in Harlem, where I'm from, you can't find an empty basketball court. I played basketball growing up. I miss playing basketball. I really don't play basketball because I don't want to play with dudes. I'm not a street baller, really. I'm an organized team player, and I'd rather play with girls because girls play like they're civilized a lot of times, or a little more civilized. In Harlem, you can never find an empty basketball court. I don't care what time it is. So when I came to Chicago, all the basketball courts were empty that I was seeing outside. And so And so I was telling my dad, I'm like, I don't see, the city doesn't seem to have a basketball culture like I thought, you know? And my dad's like, I don't know what you're talking about, because there's a lot of NBA players that come from Chicago. Chicago produces, it's like the #1 city for producing basketball players. And there's some other people told me that. So even me with my sports science self, I don't, pay attention. I'm not like a sports fan. I like to play sports and I can train athletes, but I don't follow sports. And when I ever did watch sports, or if I'm going to watch sports, I prefer watching women. And I really only watch it during the Olympics. But my twin brother, he is a sports journalist. So I'm used to sports being on all the time, people talking about sports, but I don't pay attention to that shit. So my dad had to tell me, now, Chicago has a lot of basketball players that produce in this city. So I'm thinking, okay, so where are they? Because I don't see anybody playing. So a New Yorker friend of mine from Brooklyn, who now lives here, told me that his game has gotten better from moving to Chicago, because he was saying that Chicago had way more indoor basketball courts, way more gyms, of basketball courts than New York. So he was like, in the winter, and I guess I never noticed this, right? But he was like, in the winter in New York, there's not really a lot of places to play. In Brooklyn, it was the Bed-Stuy Y, and that was it. So you didn't really have a lot of chances. But in Chicago, there's so many indoor courts. And so the basketball culture, so it's year round. And a lot of it is inside, probably also because people get shot outside in Chicago on basketball courts. So maybe that's another reason. But in the wintertime, it's not stopped, right? So that's another thing. You go inside, play basketball, do things like, it's not, just because it's winter, it's not the end of the world. Another important thing about working out in the winter is you want to be sure to do good warm-ups and make sure your muscles are warm. But because I don't drive, a lot of times my muscles are warm, because if you're walking through the snow and treading through stuff and it's building up heat, I'm using my muscles, and then I get to the gym, my muscles are kind of warm. But you want to make sure you do a good warm-up, because working cold muscles is how you get injured. And so the warm-up becomes even more important in the wintertime. So that's an important thing to think of. Some people like to ski, they like to snowboard. I've never done those activities. I've only ice skated. But you can do all those things in the winter, and they're fun. And those are things that you can't do in the summer. And even though I like looking at the beach, I personally am not a beach person like that. Like I like to go to the beach. I'll play beach volleyball, but I'm not somebody that's like, ooh, let me go get in the water. Like, I'm not. Out of the 5 times I've been to Cuba, I didn't go to the beach once. I didn't think about going to the beach. I'm in Miami all the time. I never go to the beach unless I have to do a photo shoot on the beach, which is rare. So, and I live right next to the beach in Chicago. Chicago has a beach that a lot of people don't know about. If you don't know about it, Google it. But there's a beach that runs alongside the coast of Chicago, and I live right on the beach. And I go to the beach a lot and read, but I never have a desire to go get in the water. Like, I'm a cat. I'm a land creature. I'm good with that, right? I like my feet on the ground. I like to play sports and do stuff like that. And so a lot of you who are listening have a car. So it's like, if you have a car, just get in your goddamn car, turn the heat on, and go do some shit. Stop using, oh, it's cold outside, to be lazy. Because when you keep it moving, and then the wintertime is great because you eat a lot. And you want to eat a lot. You know what I'm saying? Like in the summertime, I don't want to eat that much. Summertime, you want cooling foods. You're like, oh, let me eat some fruit salad, and let me eat some, like, you want stuff that's cool. In the summertime, the wintertime, you want stuff is going to stick to your gut. That's why you got Thanksgiving and Christmas and those colder months. And it's perfect for building, because when you're working out a lot, you need to eat a lot of food. And so it could be hard for me in the summer if I'm working out a lot and I don't want to eat a lot. And I don't want to eat a lot of hot food because it's just too hot. You know what I'm saying? So the winter can be really cozy and a good time to keep working out. And then it's good because it keeps you motivated. It could prevent you from getting like winter blues and everything. And then when the summertime comes, you look good and you're in shape. Instead of waiting till May, like people want to do when it gets to be May, and they're like, I'm gonna get in shape for summer. No, stop doing that shit. First of all, it's a lifestyle. You need to work out all the time. But you want to start stuff months prior if you really want to do some last minute shit. Don't come in May talking about you want to work out and get in shape for the summer. Work out in the winter, okay? It's a great time to build. And if you have never ice skated, I suggest trying it. Chicago, if you're in Chicago, Chicago has a lot of free ice skating lessons at the rinks. Another great thing about this city. It's a very active city. And so, yeah, so I just wanted to make this little, I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I wanted to say. I think I touched on all the points. The walking in the snow, that's a good workout. Just like walking in the sand, very good workout. You got stuff like ice skating. You want to go, lift weights. And ice skating is better than jogging. Jogging is not a good workout, okay? That's a whole nother discussion. You're lifting weights. You can go to dance classes. Just put the shea butter on your skin, right? Shea butter is an insulator. Forget the lotion, all that crap. Shea butter, 100% raw shea butter. Not shea butter lotion, shea butter. Cover yourself in that from head to toe. And a lot of men don't like to moisturize their skin. Cover it. Because if you cover your skin in shea butter, like you could go out all day and you come back and your skin is still moisturized. And keeping your skin moisturized is also what keeps the skin young. You know, moisturizing is critical. But the shea butter insulates everything. You put that on your face, put it on your face. Because a lot of people say I like to put shea butter on your face. Put shea butter on your face, put it all over you. And it's going to help to keep you warm. Just put on your layers, put on your, you know what I'm saying? I don't even need a scarf a lot of times. Put on your scarf, put on your gloves. Let's go. Okay? All right. So thanks for listening. I hope you learned something. And follow me on YouTube and YouTube at The Body Scientist 81, Instagram at _body_scientist. Have a good day, people, and keep it moving. Bye.